Okay. So we're online. We're just going to do this 1 hour. Questions and comments, please write them down, and we're gonna take them in the end. So we are Sha'ar HaKavanot, Rosh Hashana, Yom Kippur, and bam. So we talked about the Nasira, we talked about the Shofar, and we're going to recap kind of what we're talking about, and just make it as simple as possible. Okay, it's going like this. What is our goal? What is the goal?
Zivug.
Right? What is it? Why do we want to make a zivug? That's the ultimate goal. We want all of creation to be in a constant state of expanded conscious awareness of the infinite light of the Creator that continuously creates and sustains all of existence at every moment. Yeah. That's the goal. Okay? Or what you could simply say, Dira b'tachtonim, to bring that awareness, to bring that consciousness down into all of global human consciousness, to perceive that reality, that infinite light, and its will as the ultimate reality of creation. And so in order to bring down this consciousness, we have to be able to download and stream this consciousness into existence. How do we download and stream that higher consciousness into existence? We have to be able to bring it from the source of consciousness that we receive it from. What is the source of consciousness, as far as we're concerned? The Shekhinah. The Shekhinah. We receive our consciousness from the Shekhinah, right? That it's kind of like when the kids are hungry, we go to mom, we say, Mom, feed me. Okay? Mommy, I'm hungry. And so the Shekhinah, the Malchut of the world of Atzilut, is the mother of all creation, and she releases all of the energy and all of the vitality and all of the Shefa into the world, each according to every living being's vessel to be able to be able to receive that Shefa. Okay? And so we don't just want physical shefa and financial shefa and health and all that stuff. Absolutely we do. But the ikar, the shefa that we want is the mochin. We want that consciousness, right? And so we want to stream that down from the Shekhinah. So we kind of have to log in, interface with the Shekhinah, and to be able to bring that light into the world. So how do we bring that light into the world? Well, the Arizal teaches us that the Shekhinah does not have any light of herself, but that all of the light, all of the shefa that she has to bring into the world, she gets from who? She gets from Zer Anpin. And so in order for the Shekhinah to be able to have shefa to give to the world, she has to receive it from the masculine aspect of God, called the Kadosh Baruch Hu, or Zer Anpin, or however you would like to call it. It's the 6 Sefirot of Atzilut, Chesed, Gvura, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, Yesod. And so all of Kabbalah is based around this idea of making an integration between the masculine aspect and the feminine aspect, what's called a zivug. There has to be a zivug, unification between Zer Anpin and between the Malchut. When there is a zivug between Zer Anpin and the Malchut, then the Malchut has all of this incredible shefa and energy and vitality to be able to give to the world. And so we need to make a zivug between Zer Anpin and Malchut. But in order to make a zivug between Zer Anpin and Malchut, what does Zer Anpin need? He needs mochin. He needs mochin. Without mochin, there's no zivug. And if there's no zivug, Malchut is empty. And if the Malchut is empty, then that's not very good for us. Okay? When the Shekhinah is lacking in light, then all the forces of concealment, the forces of darkness, the klipot, they get to run amok and have their day and do whatever they want. And so we want to illuminate the world with the light of the Shekhinah. And so in order to do that, she has to be filled with the light of Zer Anpin, so we need to have a zivug. And so how do we make a zivug? Zer Anpin must have mochin. He has to have mochin. And so how do we bring the mochin into Zer Anpin? This is called tefillah. This is called tefillah. Is that when we go through the process of tefillah and all the mechanics of tefillah, we are, so to speak, giving mochin, we're generating mochin for Zer Anpin to receive so that he can have a zivug with the Malchut. Where does Zer Anpin receive the Mochin from?
Ima.
Abba and Ima. Abba and Ima. Ima, the supernal mother, Ima Ila'ah, gives birth to the Mochin, but she needs Abba as well, the masculine aspect, right, together. So when there's a zivug between Abba and Ima, then the Mochin is created, it's generated, and then Zer Anpin can receive that Mochin, and then Zer Anpin can have a zivug with the Nukva. Okay, so there's like a zivug between Abba and Ima, generates the Mochin to Zer Anpin. Zer Anpin receives the Mochin. Now that he has Mochin, now he can have a zivug with the Nukva, and then the Shefa, the energy, continues to flow down to us. Okay, it's basically all of Kabbalah on one leg. All right. Now the stage of the developmental process of the zivug always begins. There's always three stages. It's always three stages. The first stage is what is called achor be'achor, where Zer Anpin and the Nukva are, so to speak, they are back to back. Okay? So it goes a little something like this. 3 stages for zivug. 3 stages. The first stage is what we call achor be'achor. Okay? Or pro language, ach be'ach. That is when Zer Anpin and the Malchut are back to back. Yeah? Achor be'achor. They're like this. In order, that's like the first. That's like the first stage. That's like the first stage of development. Okay. After that, then there needs to be a separation between Zer Anpin and Malchut. Okay. So that's second stage. So that's the second stage, and that's what we call the Nesira. Okay, Nesira. All right. Okay, so there is this Nesira now between Zer Anpin and Malchut. That's stage number 2. Okay, and now that they're separated from each other, now they can come face to face, and that's called panim be panim. Okay. And then when they're face to face, then there can actually be a zivug, okay, face to face. And when it's face to face, now there's a transference of energy. Zer Anpin gives the energy to Nukva, and then she is able to receive that energy, and then she gives birth to that energy to the lower worlds. Okay? Yeah, we got that? All right. So this is the 3 stages of development. There's achor be'achor, nesira, panim panim. Achor be'achor, nesira, panim panim. Achor be'achor, nesira, panim panim. Got a question? Write it down. Achor be'achor, nesira, panim panim. Okay? Pro language, the pros say ach be'ach, nesira, and then panim be'panim. Okay. So how do we go through this process? The beginning stages of generating the mochin, is when we begin the tefillah. And when does this happen? The mochin is generated during Kriyat Shema, when we say Kriyat Shema. Okay? Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. That generates the mochin. There is a zivug between Abba and Ima, and this creates the mochin. Okay, and now the mochin is, so to speak, it exists. It's been generated, and now we need to bring the mochin into Zer Anpin. Okay, where do we bring the mochin into Zer Anpin? We bring the mochin into Zer Anpin in the first bracha of the Amida. The beginning half of the first bracha of the Amida brings the mochin into Zer Anpin. Okay? So, Baruch atah Hashem, Elokeinu, v'Elokei Avotenu, Elokei Avraham, Elokei Yitzchak, v'Elokei Yaakov. I'm not going to get into the dynamics of that, because we're going to do that later, very, very in depth. But just the basic idea is that the first bracha, we're bringing the mochin into Zer Anpin. Okay? We're bringing the mochin into Zer Anpin. And in the first half of the bracha, right, we get to Elokei Avraham, Elokei Yitzchak, Elokei Yaakov, El Gadol HaGibor Ranura, El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Koneh Hakol, Vezocher Chesdei Avot, Umevi Goel Livnei Vnehem Lema'an Shmo Be'ahava. At the word Be'ahava, with love, there then begins the Nesira. There we begin the Nesira. Okay? How do we do a Nesira? How do we do Nesira? So we do Nesira like this, okay? We said in the beginning of the in the beginning of the Amida, let's say we have okay, we have Zer Anpin and we have the Nukva back to back, right? We said we have mochin. The mochin is coming in. How much mochin does he have? He has chokhmah, he has bina, and he has das, right? That's his mochin, chokhmah, bina, and das, yep. Right? It's supposed to come into Zer Anpin, okay? But the das is kind of like split up into two, right? Which are the primary emotions. The das connects the mind to the heart. And so the primary emotions of the heart are love and fear. And so, right, pain and pleasure. And so the das has these two primary emotions. And so we're going to call them chasadim of the das and guvuras of the das. Okay? Two aspects of the das. So how many aspects of mochin do we have? Four. Okay? So when we begin the first bracha of Tfilat Shmona Esrei, of the Amida, all of these mochins are coming into Zer Anpin. Okay? And then when we finally get Leman Shmo Be'ahava, then we begin the Nesira. How do we do the Nesira? So the Nesira now, all of this mochi now goes back out of Zer Anpin, and it's, so to speak, like or makif above his head, okay? And then Ima takes the feminine aspects of the mochin, which are the bina and the gevura of the das. And then both of these together, Ima brings them into the nukva. Okay? The bina and the gevura enter into the nukva. And now that she has this feminine energy, the feminine aspect of the mochin, which is kind of like her essential energy. That's what builds her. That's what develops her. And so therefore, this is what causes the actual separation itself, the Nesira itself. Okay, and now she is separated from Zer Anpin because she has mochin, because she doesn't need him anymore. As long as all of the mochin was in Zer Anpin, she was, so to speak, dependent on him. So therefore she was kind of stuck on his back. But as soon as Ima takes the mochin out of Zer Anpin and brings it into the nukva, now she has a sense of independency. She doesn't need Zer Anpin to receive the mochin anymore, and so she is separated from him. That's the Nesira. Okay? Every day that happens when we say Lama and Shmo Be'ahava, on Rosh Hashana, when does this process happen? This process happens when we say the words Zochreinu Lachaim, Melech Chafetz B'Chaim, Kotveinu B'Sefer Chaim Lema'anach Elohim Chaim. These 11 words are bringing the Bina and the Gevura, these feminine aspects of the Mochin, of this consciousness, into the Nukva and separating her. Okay? And so now, after we finished the Nesira, then what happens? Okay? So now we have to bring them, wake Zer Anpin up, so to speak. Because as soon as there is the loss of Mochin, that the Mochin leaves Zer Anpin, that's what's called Histalkut HaMochin, and it's also called Dormita. That Zer Anpin is like sleeping, loss of consciousness. And so now what do we have to do? So now we have to bring that Mochin back into Zer Anpin. We have to bring that Mochin back into Zer Anpin. On Rosh Hashana, how do we wake Zer Anpin up and bring the Mochin back into Zer Anpin? That's called a shofar. Uru, uru, yeshanim mitardim atchem. We say, awaken, awaken, you sleepy heads. Awakening, not just physically awakening, but it's awakening our consciousness. That on Rosh Hashana now we are beginning this new year with fresh new consciousness. Because we're not just bringing back the old consciousness to Zer Anpin, but we're actually affecting incredible new, renewed, fresh energy, fresh consciousness to come down into Zer Anpin as well. When does that happen? During the shofar. Okay? So first there's the Nesira, which happens during the Tefillah. Right? It's Shacharit in this case, Shacharit Rosh Hashana. We're beginning the Nesira. And then right after Shacharit, then is when we have the shofar. Okay? The shofar. So then how do we do the shofar? So we said that we have three different types of sounds of the shofar. We have something called, types of shofar. We have what's called a tekiah. We have a tekiah. We have shvarim. And we have trua. Okay? What is the tekiah? The tekiah is just a long sound. Do. Simple sound. Like a simple yell. Ah! Da, da. Then we have the shvarim. What's the shvarim? Shvarim means broken. So imagine like you're taking this same sound and you're breaking it into three pieces. So do. Yeah? And then you have the trua, which is the same thing, but just even more broken. Do, right? Minimum of 9 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Do. Okay? So that's Tekiah, Shvarim, and Teruah. And then when we always end with another Tekiah. So we have a Tekiah in the beginning, a Tekiah, Shvarim, and a Teruah in the middle. Sometimes we do Shvarim, Teruah together. Sometimes we do just the Shvarim. Sometimes we do just the Teruah. Okay? So the order of the shofar blasts, there's 3 kind of categories, 3 orders, okay? The first category we do what's called tashrat, okay? So it's a tekiah, and then it's going to be shvarim, teruah, tekiah. Tashrat. That make sense? Tashrat. Tekiah, whoops. Where'd you go? Tekiah, shvarim, teruah, tekiah. Yeah? That's the first sequence of the blasts. And then we have tekiah, shvarim, tekiah. Okay? So it's going to be do, tekiah, shvar, or tashat, as commonly known. And then you have the third sequence of the blasts, which is going to be tekiah, teruah, and then another tekiah at the end. Do. Okay? So this is what is commonly known: tashrat, tashat, tarat. Yeah? So if we do the blast, it's going to be do, 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 okay? That's the order of the shofar blast. So along come says the Arizal. So what is the secret of the sequence of all of the shofar blasts? Okay? So we have something like this. We have a situation where Zer Anpin is asleep, right? Zer Anpin is asleep. Okay? Where is his mochin? Well, he has the masculine aspects of the mochin, which is the chokhmah and the chasadim of das, right? Above his head, or makif. And then the feminine aspects of his mochin, which are the bina and the gvura of das. Where are those? Where are those? They are inside the nukva right now. Both of these are inside the nukva. That's how we did the Nasira, right? And so now we have to take the mochin back out of the nukva and to bring it back into Zer Anpin and wake him up. So how do we do that? That's called the shofar. So we have the first tekiah. The first tekiah. Okay? The first tekiah, okay, takes out all of the mochin that was in the nukva and brings that back out and rejoins it with the masculine aspects of the mochin. So now we have all of this consciousness, all of this energy back together again. Okay? Stage one. And then what do? And then the Arizal says, because of the deep awakening within our hearts and within our neshamas, what's called itoruta dilatata, there's an awakening within our own hearts, then our neshamas are able to take this mochin and to ascend with it through all of the supernal worlds, past Zer Anpin and the Malchut, past Abba and Ima, past Arich Anpin, all the way to the head of Adam Kadmon, Ab de Ab. There, mamash, we're kissing the Ein Sof. And this incredible energy, this awakening that we have caused, this incredible elevation for this consciousness to ascend, what that does is that it opens up the gates of Ein Sof Mamish for new consciousness to enter into all of reality, into the creation. New, fresh consciousness is coming back down into the world. And then it starts to flow through all creation. It goes through Adam Kadmon, Atik Yomin, Arich Anpin, Abba and Ima. There's a zivug between Abba and Ima. Abba and Ima now generate Zer Anpin's new consciousness. And now coming back down, right, after you went all the way up to Ein Sof, now you're coming back down to Ein Sof, and now you have fresh, new consciousness in addition to the old consciousness. Okay? So if you can imagine, we have the old consciousness, old mochin, and next to it we also have new mochin. Okay? And it's now all waiting to come back down into Zeir Anpin. Okay? That's called Tekiah. Are you guys with me? That's called Tekiah. Okay? So what is the Tekiah? Again, taking out the old energy from Nukva that was necessary in order to separate her. Then we're taking this consciousness, this mochin, and we're elevating it all the way back up to the source of creation, Mamish, Adam Kadmon, Ein Sof. And now we're bringing also new energy into the world, new mochin into the world, and now all of that mochin now is now above Zeir Anpin's head, waiting to enter back into him, to awaken him up, to awaken his consciousness, to take him to a new level of perception of reality. Okay? All that in the first Tekiah. After the first Tekiah, right, remember we had, that's called Tekiah. After Tekiah, then we have what? Shvarim, Teruah. Okay? And so the Shvarim and the Teruah, they kind of like, they're going together now. All right? And so what happens during the Shvarim? After now this mochi now is kind of on Zeir Anpin's head, then what do? During the Shvarim, we have this kind of like new chokhmah and bina, and we have chasadim, and we have the gevurot, right? New mochin, everything is above his head. I'm just going to write it one time. And so now what do? We take the feminine aspects of the mochin, the left side of the mochin, meaning the bina and the gevura, and that enters only into the left side of Zeir Anpin. Okay, so if I draw Zeir Anpin like this, okay, as he normally should be, right? The meaning, that he has think of it like this is Zeir Anpin, right? He has Chokhmah, Bina, Das, Chesed, Gvura, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, Yesod. Right? Zeir Anpin has these 10 Sefirot. We're not talking about the Keter right now, just right these 9 Sefirot, right? He has a Keter above his head. So we say the mochin is always delivered into Zeir Anpin through who? Through the Netzach Hod Yesod of Ima. Okay? That we have, let's say like this. Okay? That we have the Bina, we have the Chasadim, and we have the Gevurot. These, the Chokhmah energy, cannot directly go into Zeir Anpin, into his right column. It has to be delivered in some type of like vehicle. It has to be packaged. The Chokhmah, the right side of his mochin, his right brain, how is it delivered to Zeir Anpin? Through the Netzach of Ima. Right? So imagine like the Chokhmah kind of like is sitting there. Okay? The Chokhmah is always delivered in the Netzach of Ima. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay? The Netzach will enter into all of his right side. And this is actually not like totally, I'll try and do it as exact as possible. But imagine that Ima's leg, right leg, her Netzach, okay? Her Netzach is the entire length of Zer Anpin's right side, okay? And it's containing his Chochmah. And so when the Netzach of Ima enters into Zer Anpin, it will deliver all of the mochin going down to all of his right side. Okay? The same thing on the left side. That Ima's Hod is kind of like the same. That was horrible. Is the same kind of length, if you will, of Zer Anpin's left side. And what's going to be inside of his mochin? The Bina, right? And then we also have Ima's Yesod. Now, I know the pro-Kabbalists are going to get really mad at me for doing it like this, but we're just going to make it very, very simple, okay? So, Ima's Yesod is like this. And it's housing the Chassidim and the Gvuras, right? So the Netzach, so Ima's Netzach, right, will enter into all of the right side of Zer Anpin, vitalizing, animating, energizing his right side. Ima's left leg, the Hod, will enter into his left side, vitalizing and energizing his left leg. And then Ima's Yesod will enter into him. That's normally how things work, okay? Which means right after the Nesira, we take the mochin outside of the Nukva, and then we bring all of the mochin and the new mochin back into Zer Anpin, and that's what brings them face to face. But on Rosh Hashana, something different happens. Something happens. Instead of all three columns entering back into Zer Anpin, preparing him to be face to face in a zivug, because it's Rosh Hashana, and Rosh Hashana is the day of Deen, it's the day of judgment, it's the day of this very, very strong, powerful energy. So what happens? That Ima's left leg, the Bina itself, enters into Zer Anpin's left side. Okay? Normally it would be that the right side would enter first, then the left side, and then the middle. That's kind of like the proper, like real way it happens. But on Rosh Hashanah, the Netzach remains on top of his head, or Makif, and now only the Bina enters inside. But but because it's Rosh Hashanah and it's a very, very, very important day of awakening this very powerful energy, and we're going to have to explain what does that mean, this Bina and Gvura energy. But what happens is that also part of his das, also part of the dot, also the feminine aspect of his dot, which is the Gvura, jumps ship out of her normal vehicle, which is the Yesod, and it passes to the Hod. And so now we have, right? We kind of have the Bina, we have Bina and the Gvura inside Ima's left leg, and now both of those enter into Zer Anpin. Okay? That's called Shvarim. That's what happens at the Shvarim. Shvarim is taking the Bina and the Gvura that was over his head, and it is bringing it into the left side of Zer Anpin. Yes? And not only is it bringing it into the left leg of Zer Anpin, but it's reaching all the way down to the end of Zer Anpin, which is the bottom part, his leg, and that we say it's all relative. That just like Ima's leg is the entire length of Zer Anpin, right? So too, Zer Anpin's leg is the entire length of the nukva. His hod, well, I mean, his netzach, his hod is everything, right? So his hod, for all intents and purposes, we're just talking about the hod right now. So his hod, if you can imagine, actually enters in, his last part of his hod Can you guys see that? Can you guys see that, like, his hod is inside the entire left side of the nukva? That her entire left side, right? Because you're going to divide that, those are her three sides. That's going to be her bina, her gvura, and her hod. Her entire left side. So, what is the soul of the nukva? In this case, just her left side. It is the hod of Zer Anpin. All of his left leg is kind of like the soul to the nukva. It'll be the same on the right side, and it'll be the same on the left side. Okay? If you want to do it, you can do that quick, right? So imagine that, like, his entire left leg, okay? Oops. Okay, his entire left leg, right leg, okay, his entire right leg is like the soul of her right column. Just like Ima's right leg is the soul of Zer Anpin, so too Zer Anpin is the soul of the nukva.
That's why we had the drawing of smaller spheres going into one another. Exactly.
Right? So she's going to have three aspects, which is going to be her chokhmah, her chesed, and her netzach, right? Yefeh. So now in Rosh Hashanah, what are we doing? We said the Shvarim. Shvarim is taking the mochin of the gvura, the bina and the gvura, and then Ima's left leg is entering into Zer Anpin, and it is reaching all the way down to the bottom of his left side, to his hod, okay, and then illuminates her bina. It's giving mochin now also to the mochin of the nukva.
Does that happen like all in one go? Or
all in one go. The shvarim, when we say the shvarim, the mochi now is entering into Zer Anpin's left side and reaches all the way into the mochin of the nukva, the mind of the Shekhinah, and it is animating, it is vitalizing, it is giving new, renewed energy to the Shekhinah, to the left part of her brain, to her bina. Yeah?
So essentially,
hold on. And then, so that's the shvarim. And then what do we have? Then we have the teruah. The teruah takes all of this mochin back out of the nukva and brings it back onto the head of Zer Anpin. Yeah? So the teruah, is taking the mochin back out of Zer Anpin and putting the bina and the gevura back on his head. Which where we know that, of course, the chokhmah and the chassidim were always there. They never left. They were always or makif, illuminating Zer Anpin from outside. Okay? So he was kind of like still asleep. And then the mochin entered inside of him, ultimately illuminating also a part of the Shekhinah, the Malchut, the Nukva. That was Shvarim. And then the Teruah is taking the mochin back out of Zer Anpin and putting it back on his head.
And also out of the Shekhinah.
And also out of the Shekhinah. Also the Shekhinah. And so now all of the mochin is now back over his head. That's the Teruah. That's the Teruah. Okay? The mochin is now back out of Zer Anpin. And then we finally have the last Tekiah. Now, what is the last tekiah of this first set? The last tekiah takes all of the mochin, chokhmah, bina, chassidim of the dot, and gvurot of the dot, and brings all of it back into Zer Anpin. And that stays with him now. Okay? And also, of course, illuminates also her chokhmah, bina, and das.
Why didn't just the Chokhmah and Bina come down, the Chokhmah and Chesed come down to the right side, hadn't come down to the left?
Hold on, we'll take the question. Hold on. Up until the point. So this is Tekiah, Shvarim, Teruah, Tekiah. Okay? Oh, I'm sorry. The when we said the Tekiah, this last Tekiah, it's bringing the mochin back into Zer Anpin, but it brings kind of all of the mochin just into the Chokhmah, Bina, and the Das of Zer Anpin. All of the mochin, the first stage, as the consciousness, new consciousness enters, it enters into the mind first, the Chokhmah, Bina, and Das of Zer Anpin.
Not the Nukva.
How? It's much higher than the Nukva, just in his mind. Okay? And so that's the last Tekiah. And then we have the next set of shofar blasts, which is Tekiah, Shvarim, Tekiah, right? It's the next order. All this was Tekiah, Shvarim, Teruah, Tekiah. Do. Okay? By the end of that, all the mochin is in the Chokhmah, Bina, and Das of Zer Anpin. Okay? Then we have Tekiah, Shvarim, Tekiah. In Tekiah, Shvarim, Tekiah, then what are we doing there? Okay? We're bringing the mochin further down from the Chokhmah, Bina, Das, also now into Chesed, Gevura, and Tiferet. The energy is flowing, okay? At the end of the last set, the Tekiah, it flowed into his Chokhmah, Bina, and Das. And now as we begin this new set, Tashat, Tekiah, Shvarim, Tekiah, the mochin continues to flow from his Chokhmah, Bina, Das into his Chesed, Gvura, and Tiferet.
At which point of the Tekiah Shvar?
So it goes like this. Tekiah, we're bringing the mochin into his Chesed. That's the first Tekiah.
In the second round.
Second round. And then we have the Shvarim. That's going to bring the mochin, continue to flow from the Bina to his Gevura. And then we have the last Tekiah is going to bring the mochin from the Das into the Tiferet. Yeah? So we've brought it down one level, from his mind into his primary emotions. Okay? So that's tashat. Tekiya, shvarim, tekiya. All right? And then the last set, what do we have? Tekiya, teruah, tekiya. All right? Tekiya. Yafeh. So the first tekiya of Tarat, that first tekiya is going to bring the mochin from his chesed down to his netzach, and also illuminating the nukva.
Right, because when
It should be green.
nothing.
Okay, so the first tekiya is bringing the mochin into his netzach, okay, which is the soul of the Shekhinah on her right side. And so that's the first tekiya. The teruah is bringing the mochin from his gevura down to his hod, right? Animating also aspect of the Shekhinah. And then the last tekiya is bringing the mochin into the yesod, Zeran Pin's yesod, which is also the right, the middle column of the Shekhinah. So it's going to be animating her dot. There's the basic kavanas of the shofar. That's the technical aspect of it. And in the next session, we're going to the more meditative aspects of what's really going on here behind the scenes. Stay tuned, kids.